Back in Miami, a spectacular shot. That's downtown Miami, about a 30-minute drive from Joe Robbie Stadium, assuming there's not a lot of traffic.
That's early in the morning.
It's going to be a lot longer than that.
About 4.
Yep. And in North Dade County, the edifice until recently known as Joe Robbie Stadium, named for the late Dolphin owner and a man whose vision was to build a stadium out in this area, which he did. And the Dolphins have been playing here since '87. It's also the home of the Florida Marlins of the National League. Funny when you think of the coaches and managers in this city right now. Jim Leland, generally regarded as the best in baseball, is now the Marlins manager. Jimmy Johnson, his record speaks for himself. Don Shula, his predecessor. Doug McLean of the Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup finalist last year, and Pat Riley of the Miami Heat.
Off to
pretty
a great
good
start
foursome, huh?
Heat off to a great start.
Don Shula, and he was thanked by this big crowd at halftime for all the memories as they unveiled the plaque. Don coming out to a huge ovation.
And as he left the platform, the last hand he shook was that of Jimmy Johnson, and they unveiled the Ring of Honor designating Don Shula, head coach 1970 to 1995.
Second half begins with Joe Nedney kicking off to Eric Pegram, who takes it at the 2-yard line and runs into Bernie Parmalee up at the 17.
Boy, Bernie Parmalee, just one of those guys that you'd like to have about a half a dozen or so on your football team. Gets in a ball game, does his job, does it right, great on special teams, good guy in the locker room. He is the type of a player that's just the heart and soul of a lot of teams around the NFL.
Leading rusher a year ago too, Dan. He can play it all.
Unselfish, and just every winning team has a lot of Bernie Parmalees.
Now the Steelers from the 18-yard line as we start the third quarter. Miami up 14-10. Mike Tomczak gives the ball to Jerome Bettis to the short side of the field. Up past the 20 and fights his way to the 23-yard line. Tackled there by Darrell Gardner, the Baylor rookie.
A good look there about the style of Jerome Bettis. Even though he is such a physically imposing man, such a large man, he's able to make people miss. He's so light on his feet and with such good balance. There's more to his running style than just pummeling people. Right there, he turned himself sideways, made a couple moves, and made 3 separate Dolphins miss him completely. It's that combination of speed, toughness, and agility that makes him the complete package.
Second down and 4. Bettis' 11th carry of the night. That's only a yard up to the 25. 11 carries now for 51 yards. Shane Burton, the rookie from Tennessee, makes the stop.
Steelers, I know, would love to come out and take control of this game on the ground. They feel they can do it, although they have been unable to do it thus far tonight. Youthful defensive unit of the Miami Dolphins. A couple of rookies starting on the left side, Gardner and Shane Burton. And a free safety, Sean Wooden. 3 rookies starting defensively.
Kordell Stewart in the game. It's third down and 3. Tomczak throws. Johnson makes a great catch. Hammered by Oliver. Holds on. First down up at the 34-yard line. Charles Johnson.
And a good read by Mike Tomczak and Johnson. The blitz was on. The Steelers came out with their 5 wideouts, and the Dolphins went right to the blitz. Johnson reads it, comes across the middle. Good concentration. Takes a shot. He knows he's going to get it from Lewis Oliver, but he holds on. And probably goes back to the huddle and looks at Mike and says, a little lower, please.
As if he can remember that it was Mike that threw it.
First and 10 at the 35-yard line. Bettis cuts it back. Picks up 3 up to the 38-yard line. Let's check in with Lynn Swanlin.
Well, Al, I talked to Jimmy Johnson when he came out for the second half, and he said he was surprised and very pleased with how well his offense ran the football, and he'll continue to do that. He said where he felt badly was, or where he had to improve, was with his defensive secondary. Mike Tomczak has given them more opportunities than just the 1 pick for the touchdown. He says they have to take advantage of to win this ball game. Al?
And we'll see if they can do that in the second half, because the lead is a tenuous one. Just 4 points, 14-10. Second down and 6 at the 39-yard line. Tomczak buying time with the fake to Bettis, and then throws, and it's caught by Hastings at midfield. They'll spot it at the Pittsburgh 49, and that's a first down.
That's a big time delivery there. And going against Lewis Oliver, you're going to get Hastings against Lewis Oliver. You want to stay with that all night long.
But the protection allowed Hastings to come way back to the football. He makes his cut, and look how far back upfield he's able to come. And even when Tomczak delivered the ball, he didn't have anyone in a white jersey anywhere near him. Outstanding protection.
11.5 minutes left, third quarter. Miami leading 14-10. Bettis just across the 50-yard line, barely into Miami territory. A gain of a couple. Gardner and Burton, the race of rookies with the stop.
Anywhere you look on that Miami team, and it's a rookie. And of course, one of the great stories about the Steelers is Jerome Bettis. If he gets to 1,200 yards, which he most surely will, as you can see, he already at 1172, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. That was his contract negotiation with Pittsburgh, and they certainly want to keep him, and will have to deal with him at the end of the year.
Steelers do a good job picking up the blitz, but the secondary also does a fine job, and the pass is thrown away, intended for Jonathan Hayes. Third down.
I don't know whose idea that was to allow Bettis to be a free agent when he gets 1,200 yards, but it is certainly going to work in Jerome's favor.
Yes. The Steelers inherited the original contract that he had signed with the Rams. Jerome in his 4th year out of Notre Dame. And Bill Cowher said, I don't want to negotiate with him during the season. I never feel that that's fruitful. But he's already started the process of, telling Jerome, hey, it's been a great year for you. You're great for this system. You love it in Pittsburgh. We love you, man. Third down and 8. Tomczak airs it out, and it's caught by Hastings at the 10-yard line.
And Jackson the culprit again, but Miami coming with the full blitz, and they got Jackson locked up with Charles Johnson in single coverage, and the Steelers picked up the blitz. Gave Tomczak all the time he wanted to throw that football. He threw it perfectly.
Well, Miami came with one of the slowest blitzes I've ever seen.
They don't do a lot of it.
Slow motion blitzes. They looped all the way in from the outside. Just textbook execution by Hastings and Tomczak. Perfect strike. A good catch laid out. Jackson's coverage wasn't awful.
They spotted at the 11 on 1st and 10. This is Lester making the catch, and Tim, who scored Pittsburgh's earlier touchdown, tackled by Oliver at about the 6-yard line. Chan Gailey, the offensive coordinator. Remember, the Steelers let Ron Earhart go after last season, and 2 years ago Dom Capers had been the defensive coordinator. Now, of course, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Oliver hurt. Meanwhile, Bruner and Thigpen, they tell us, both done for the day. The tight end and wide receiver for Pittsburgh. And Oliver was something in his eye.
Bruner, they were working on his knee. Thigpen, it was the arch. And Lewis Oliver, one of the hardest hitting strong safeties in football. I don't know if he wears contacts or not.
That would clearly exacerbate the situation, as he will come to the sideline at least for one play.
Make it worse, too.
Yep, yes, it would. A total denigration of the situation. Sean Wooden comes into the game.
They do miss him down in their goal line defense, though he plays it like a linebacker, up very tight.
Michael Stewart also into the game now. Tomczak completing 67% of his passes.
And you saw that 220 yards plus on 21 attempts. Pretty good yards per attempt. Well over 10.
We'll see how that other completion to Calvin Jackson that we won't put in the stats.
But Miami put it on the scoreboard.
2nd and 5 now from the 6. This is the opening drive of the third quarter. Miami up by 4. Bettis looks for room, plows forward, and has the first down. He's inside the 1, setting up a 1st and goal. Strelzik and Lester throwing the key blocks to spring him. 1st and goal at the 1.
We talked about his ability to go east and west. He can really hum it going north and south. If he puts that shoulder down, he is moving. And he's carrying about 250 pounds. He can put a hurting on you.
They are going to measure to make it official.
Mislinski 62, and again the first down, but he's making his 6th consecutive start tonight and filling in for Brendan Stye, their draft choice of a year ago. But boy, these guys have just a wonderful system going. Dermontti Dawson, there's Stye there over on the Steelers sideline, but anchored by Dermontti Dawson.
They're happy with Milinski. He's done a good job.
And it allows them the opportunity to ease Stye back into it. He probably could have played tonight.
Slash Stewart at quarterback, and he tries to sneak his way in and somehow is able to push the pile. No signal yet.
No, I don't think Stewart pushed the pile.
Well,
he had somebody pushing
it
the pile.
appeared as if he did.
He runs a pretty straight up and down quarterback sneak, doesn't he?
They're not going to give it to him as he is a little short of the chalk.
Slash doesn't get a lot of body lane when he runs that quarterback sneak. He's trying to beat them with his hips.
Well, I think we might see it again.
George Hill, the Miami defensive coordinator. Louis Oliver back in the game. 2nd and goal, and Kordell Stewart's going to take a timeout. So they burn one here. With 8:02 left in the third quarter, Pittsburgh down by 4, but knocking at the door. Well, Kordell Stewart comes in short yardage situations, and Mike Tomczak not happy about being yanked after guiding the team down to the 1-yard line.
And he was actually restrained by one of his teammates. Not really a good time to get upset because you've worked on this all week. It's a game plan. You know what you're going to do, and I wouldn't take on Bill Cowher in any situation.
2nd and goal now with Stewart at quarterback from inside the 1, and he leaps and scores.
That's why he's there.
Kordell Stewart takes it in. Mike Tomczak will come in to hold for Norm Johnson's conversion, and the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first time tonight have the lead.
You can certainly understand Mike Tomczak, though. You take the girl to the dance, but Kordell Stewart kisses her goodnight.
Yeah, but the deal is, I mean, they work on this all week long, and he knows what's going to happen.
And then marries her.
Excellent elevation.
We got to give Dermontti Dawson 3 of those points.
How's that for some fabulous analysis?
I love it. Metaphoring with the best of them. Kordell holding on to the football. Johnson converts, and the Steelers are on top on the opening drive of the third quarter. It took 7 minutes. Pittsburgh 17, Miami 14.
Sees NFL Monday Night Football. Brought to you by NASDAQ, providing vital investment information to America's individual investors.
So the Miami Dolphins find themselves trailing for the first time tonight. Pittsburgh begins the second half the way Miami started the game. Miami with a long and fruitful opening drive, and now Pittsburgh with the opening drive of the second half, and this is taken by Robert Wilson. The kickoff is run back to the 30-yard line, and that's where Miami will set up shop for the first time in the second half. 7:51 left in the third. Steelers by 3. Here's tonight's Prudential Monday Night Fact. Dan Marino, now 35 years old, 14th year in the league. In January of '85, at the age of 23, the youngest quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl, losing to the San Francisco 49ers, and the game played at Stanford Stadium in Palo Alto.
When you look at Marino's career, one of the things that really jumps out is how good he was so soon. Dan Marino was, in reality, never a rookie.
From the 30-yard line, Abdul-Jabbar gets pushed back. And what's funny too, Dan, is that that was the great class of '83 with Jim Kelly opting to go to the United States Football League, and Marino picked toward the end of that particular draft, and there it is. And just to follow up on the Prudential fact, Marino at the age of 23. David Woodley, you recall, a Dolphins, the second youngest to start. Namath and Montana were each the exact same age, and then Ferragamo was the 5th youngest. Second down and 9 from the 31-yard line. And Abdul-Jabbar drops him. Of course, that class of '83 headed by John Elway,
who talk about not losing a step along the way.
What
the Denver Broncos. Oh my! And how about the year that entire Bronco team is having?
We asked why they did not use Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a little more in the passing game. Maybe he helped answer the question.
When I say that class of '83 was headed by Elway, I meant Elway was the first guy picked in that draft.
Elway, Marino, Kelly, Blackledge.
Yep.
Elway picked by Baltimore, correct?
Right.
Tony Eason was the other QB in that draft in Illinois.
New England. And Dan has to spend a timeout. I'm very happy about that, obviously. 7:07 left in the third. 3rd and 9 after Miami had to spend a timeout. Third quarter, 7:07 left in the period, and Pittsburgh on top by 3. Stills coming down from above.
Steelers doing a much better job here in the second half against the Dolphins ground game. Here comes the fire rush.
Oh, false start. Looks like James Brown at right tackle rocked back in his stance. Dan's going to argue that he was drawn. If one of those Steelers was in the neutral zone, if he was across the football and that caused Brown to rock back, that's now a penalty on the defense.
False start prior to the snap. Offense number 76. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
The key is whether or not any of the Steelers were in the neutral zone. According to the officials, they weren't. Thus, it's a false start.
Steelers dancing all along the line of scrimmage, getting ready to come with the blitz. You can see them. They'll try to draw you off, and
there's the rock back, and I think that's a good call by the officials. The Steelers appear to be moving on their side of the football, not in the neutral zone.
They'll do it again right here.
The Steelers have not been penalized once tonight. 3rd down and 14. Marino buys time, and Woodson gets a hand in there to knock it away. There's a flag down now back at the 20-yard line.
Chad Brown screaming that he was held by Richmond Webb, the left tackle.
And he may well have been, but they'll decline it because the pass was incomplete. It'll be 4th down, and they're going to kick. Always a sign of great coaching when a team.
Holding. Offense number 76. Penalties decline. 4th down.
When a team year after year after year is right down at the bottom of the list in terms of penalties, and Pittsburgh tonight.
Watch the bottom of your screen. That's James Brown, the right tackle. And that is world-class holding. They didn't even have time to see Richmond Webb on the other side. That's as good as it gets.
John Kidd's second kick of the night, leading the league, averaging 47 yards a boot. This one taken by Andre Hastings at the 22-yard line, and he's chased down and tackled by Kirby Dardar. 53-yard boot to help the average a bit. 6-yard return. 6:50 left in the third. Steelers by 3. Big one coming up in college football. Number 1 against number 2. Florida against Florida State. That's this Saturday at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific. Then the Skins game. Tiger Woods, John Daly, Tom Watson.
I want to see that.
And then we have more college football primetime on Saturday night. Lou Holtz coaching his final regular season game for the Fighting Irish against the bloodied USC Trojans. Didn't want to bring it up, Frank, but
they're hurting.
Yep.
John Daly and Tiger Woods starring in exploding golf balls.
Tom Tomczak throws. It is dropped by Pegram. It's a forward pass, so incomplete. And that's the best thing that could have happened on that play.
Pegram wasn't taking any chances that it might have been construed as a lateral.
Eric Pegram was the starter here. Tore a ligament in his left knee back on the 16th of September, and he's just getting back to 100% and started to look upfield before he put that ball away.
Yeah, but it wasn't well thrown either. Thrown behind him. Little flip like that, you want to give your receiver a chance to look upfield as he catches the ball.
2nd and 10. Here's Pegram. Only to the 28-yard line. He's tackled there by Zach Thomas, setting up 3rd and long with 6.5 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. And the Steelers up by 3. Bill Cowher in his 5th season with the Steelers. Hard to believe at the age of 39. Still the 2nd youngest coach in the NFL. Second only to Jeff Fisher at Houston.
Stop and think about what he has accomplished. So much shy of his 40th birthday. You saw Shula honored at halftime tonight. You think about, Bill Cowher is one of those guys that if he stays in it for another 25 years, who knows?
He's the kind of guy who could do it, too. 3rd down and 8. And that's incomplete. And batted.
I think Trace Armstrong might have got a hand on that.
He knocked it down, and it's 4th down. So 3 and out for the Steelers just when the Dolphins needed a 3 and out defensively. And the Steelers will punt for the first time in the game.
And they got this done with just a 4-man rush. When you can pressure the quarterback, and there's Armstrong, disrupts the play. And boy, a lot of times that's where a quarterback can hurt his arm.
Josh Miller, a left footer, a boomer, but a low kick, fielded by O.J. McDuffie at the 14-yard line, and he's able to run it back up to the 30-yard line. A 16-yard return off a 59-yard punt. And
Jerome Bettis
venting some frustration.
Well, relegated to the baseball hat on that series, and I don't think that thrilled him. This is a guy that would like to be in on every series. And quite frankly, the way he's been running the football, I know you're trying to get Eric Pegram back into the mix, and for a coach, it's tough, Frank.
That's a tough decision because you have Bettis. He's your hot runner tonight. You just almost have to stay with him.
That's what I'd think.
From the 29-yard line. Miami on 1st down. This is Abdul-Jabbar. And the flag is thrown as he takes it out to the 39. I mean, Cowher almost exercising the basketball coach's philosophy. It's a hold against Miami where you try to rest your key guys toward the end of the 3rd quarter and keep them fresh in the 4th. So maybe Bill has that in mind.
And maybe the 4th quarter of the season as well. He's trying to get. He knows he needs Pegram as things go along. And
holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
There's only so much you can accomplish during practice. Eric Pegram does need to get some play during a game. Jeff Bucky, the rookie, called for the hold that brings it back. I can understand that in one sense, but boy, it'd be hard to take Jerome Bettis out of a ball game.
Yeah, they're good friends, so they get along great. But Jerome Bettis, when Pegram was out of the lineup, all of a sudden he got himself in a position where he could be the leading rusher in the league, and he's not going to be alternating, that's for sure.
He just wants 1,201.
He'll get it. That last penalty on the rookie, Jeff Bucky. It's 1st down and 20, and Marino slings one up to the 33-yard line to Fred Barnett, who's tackled at the 35, so they get back 16 of the 20. Perry makes the tackle. It'll be 2nd and 4.
Is that not vintage Marino, though? What a unbelievable release. Back here now, watch him snap this off. Just right in the numbers. Well, face mask, either one.
It was there.
He just does it so quickly.
2nd down 4 to 35. Under 5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Steelers leading by 3. Marino a ton of time, and that's enough to find Drayton, who breaks a tackle at the 45 and takes it inside the 30 to the 27. Caught by Willie Williams after he broke a Darren Perry tackle 20 yards upfield.
In shades of what Troy Drayton did in the game against Houston.
Same pattern.
Yep, same pattern, same part of the field down the far side. And Troy Drayton obtained from the St. Louis Rams for Billy Milner, an offensive lineman that wasn't doing anything here in Miami, and boy has he helped the Dolphins passing game.
What a great pickup of the Pittsburgh Steelers blitz. Dan Marino with all the time he needed for Drayton to come from the opposite side of the field. Great blocking.
The move to get Drayton may go down as one of their better moves in '96.
Inside handoff. Stanley Pritchard picks up a couple. Jason Gilden makes the stop inside the 25-yard line.
Drayton, another guy that's a story here in Miami because he'll be a free agent at the end of this season, and one of Johnson's top priorities is going to be the signing of Troy Drayton.
Drayton had a couple pretty good years with the Rams too. A second-round draft pick and others in '93. With the Dolphins, they went through about a half a dozen tight ends before they finally scored with Drayton.
2nd and 7 now from the 24-yard line. Marino throws. Pritchard makes the catch, but there's no gain here. Kordell Lake coming up to make the tackle at the line of scrimmage and setting up a 3rd and 7.
I know what you're laughing about.
Wilson almost killed Kordell Lake.
Some of the hardest hits you see on the field during the course of a game is one defensive guy hitting another defensive guy. It's exactly what happened there.
Kordell Lake, what a superb year he had a year ago. Been to the Pro Bowl as a safety, went to the Pro Bowl as a cornerback a year ago when he filled in for Rod Woodson midway through the season. Really set the defense for them a year ago and helped them get to the Super Bowl by moving to the corner.
6 of 9, a pretty good percentage for Miami.
This is a 3rd and 7, and Willie Williams gets a hand in there to knock it away. Intended for O.J. McDuffie.
Oh, that was one that was so close to being able to be picked off.
Now Nedney coming in for will be a 41 or 42-yard field goal attempt.
Willie Williams playing with a very sore shoulder, missed last week. They've been going at him all night long, but he makes the play there.
Ed Williams, no stranger to interceptions, had 7 last year to lead the AFC.
42-yard attempt to try to tie it. Kidd puts it down, and Nedney boots it through. Joe Nedney, who won last week's game at the gun in Houston, bangs this one through with 2:34 to go in the 3rd, tied at 17.
You know, Frank, we got a second here. You know, our friends down at the Miami Project had a big event down there today, as they had a benefactor give them $10 million today. The Miami Project, important here in Miami because founded by Nick Bonacani and the injury to his son Mark, and a banner day for them today.
Mrs. Lois Pope from Palm Beach giving the Miami Project $10 million, and what great work they're doing. They're discovering all kinds of things that they felt that they couldn't do at the very beginning of their in-depth spinal research of the Miami Project, and they've just done a wonderful job there.
Nick's son Mark was paralyzed in an accident on the football field, and
what a classy man. Both of them, dad and
yes,
son.
I'll say. And congratulations to the Miami Project and Ms. Pope for that magnificent contribution.
Indeed, they have changed the whole thinking about spinal injury.
She was inspired by Christopher Reeve, and what a fabulous profile he's presenting in the face of a tough deal.
Yeah, that more than anything will be Nick Bonacani's legacy as Nedney sends one into the end zone, and Eric Pegram will bring it out. Breaks a tackle at the 15 and runs it back out to the 19-yard line. Tackle made by Michael Stewart. And there's a flag down way back. It's offside.
Not again.
Well, Mike Westhoff, the special teams coach, has seen this before tonight. It was Robert Wilson who was offside on the kick before.
Offsides. Kicking team, number 23. 5-yard penalty, free kick.
Lucky for Wilson.
Yes, very lucky for Wilson. That's Robert Bailey that time.
A 49 might have. It might even had Don Shula come down out of the box and chase him around. It's a long way to sprint down there to have to come back and do it again. And there is Don.
The vice chairman. It's hard to say that.
He is the Miami Dolphins, and always will be. Jimmy Johnson's going to have to win a lot of football games here before he replaces Don Shula. And
well, Miami tonight with 7 penalties for 40 yards, and Pittsburgh zip.
Kenny Wolf, our world-class producer, telling us no team in the league has had 0 penalties for an entire game this year. As always, Kenny Wolf producing, Craig Janoff directing, and the best crew in television.
And that's going to be a pretty costly penalty because this kickoff's going to come down to the 13-yard line. And Eric Peter, well, not so costly as it turns out. Sean Hill knocks him down at the 20 and then some.
No need for a victory lap. That's good hit.
That's what you're supposed to do, Sean.
Yeah. That was a pretty fair poke. I'd say that thing happened about 120 yards from where we're sitting, and I could hear it pretty plainly.
I'll tell you, they were closing at an incredible rate of speed.
Look at this. Craig even has an ISO on him here. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Crowd responds to it as they watch the replay along with you. 2:11 to go in the period. First down from the 20-yard line as Tomczak to Bettis to the 25-yard line. Tackled there by Darrell Gardner.
And in a tie ball game here at the end of the third quarter, 36 back in the fold.
Pegram had his little run. He'll go back to the man who's carrying the load here tonight.
Eric Pegram, you can hardly knock what he's done. Came into this game with 55 carries, but a 5.7 yards per carry average. Those are lofty numbers.
League average is 3.8 per carry. 2nd and 3. That's a first down. Charles Johnson makes the catch, and he's wrapped up as Calvin Jackson makes the tackle up at the 31-yard line. Third quarter winding down. The Steelers 6-0 at home, but 2-3 on the road. And the Dolphins trying to go 2 up over the 500 mark. The 49ers, meanwhile, with their lofty 9-3 record. Steve Young at one point yesterday completed 20 straight passes, and coming off their win over Washington, take on the Atlanta Falcons next week from the Georgia Dome on Monday Night Football. First down at the 31-yard line. Tomczak buys time, throws, and then Buckley was there, intended for Charles Johnson. Second down.
I'm assuming he threw that away, Frank.
I'm hoping that he was throwing it away.
If he didn't, he's telling people he threw it away.
He was cutting it awfully close. We'll take a look. Charles Johnson working one-on-one with Buckley.
Buckley maintaining a lot of contact well beyond the 5-yard zone.
Johnson didn't even know it was coming.
Buckley had a hold of his jersey well downfield. Could have been nabbed for that.
2nd and 10. Bettis looking for room. Gets by Singleton. Turns it on. Out of bounds. First down up at the 44-yard line.
250-pound guys aren't supposed to be able to do that.
Hey, and he is juking defensive backs, not big defensive linemen. Calvin Jackson just left there hanging for air.
That's
Singletary.
Jackson, I don't think, ever did end up touching him.
Watch this. This is the guy that weighs 250 pounds. The quick feet. Amazing. And that is Singleton.
That's Singleton. And Singleton never does. Maybe gets a hand on the back of his pants. That's about the best Singleton could do.
16 carries for 80 yards. It's a 5-yard average. He loses the football, and the Dolphins have it. Trace Armstrong at the bottom of the pile had his arms wrapped around the ball.
That's Bettis' 7th fumble of the year.
Well, they haven't given it to Miami yet. It certainly looked like Armstrong corralled it. Yep. Well, a good drive underway for the Steelers.
And that's Pittsburgh's 3rd turnover of the night.
He wasn't just carrying it loose.
Well, I think Armstrong actually created it.
Yep.
He did. He knocked it out of him.
Well, That's a one-man effort by Armstrong. Makes the tackle, causes the fumble, recovers the fumble.
That is leading all running backs in fumbles. So Armstrong with the Quinella, giving Miami great position at the 42. And barring a penalty here, it'll be the end of the third quarter. Dan Marino at the 43-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar is tackled by Gilden, a loss of 2, and we've played 3 in Miami. Pittsburgh 17, the Dolphins 17, and Monday Night Football returns after this from our ABC stations. Pittsburgh losing the football. Tomczak sitting and waiting with frustration now as Miami has it at the 45-yard line. Second down and 12 as we start the fourth quarter. The game tied at 17. And Marino throws, and it's behind Fred Barnett, but he reaches back and makes the catch at the 39-yard line. It'll be third down and 7. And let's take a look at the numbers through the first 45 minutes of play. Game tied at 17. The Steelers already 321 total yards tonight, but 3 turnovers.
One of them returned for a touchdown. Calvin Jackson taking it in.
Third and 7. Marino knocked down at the 49. Chad Brown gets the sack. And that's 11 this season for Brown. He had 9.5 at home and 1/2 on the road coming into the game tonight.
And Chad Brown working against one of the very best in the game, left tackle Richmond Webb. A beautiful spin to the inside. That's an outstanding move. Chris Dolman was really good at that move. A guy that used to play back in the old days, Ron McDowell. Another one of the classic spin artists back to the inside. And boy,
he did that. He went out of this game earlier with a bad ankle.
He left Webb dangling in midair.
Kid's punt bounces into the end zone. That was such a great spin move. Dick Button and Peggy Fleming should have illustrated that baby.
That was a sit spin.
Yes, it was.
That's a football player.
Justin Strelzik, talented right tackle of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Maine University.
Looks like Grizzly Adams.
Yeah. Played for the Black Bears of Maine.
Ooh, he really looks like Grizzly Adams. Is that really their nickname?
That's their nickname.
The Black Bears?
You bet. At the 20-yard line, first down. As Jerome Bettis roams his way out to the 34-yard line. He's tackled there.
Is he a free agent yet?
Well, he is now.
I think he might be.
Unless he has like 11 consecutive losses. That's 94 yards tonight and up and over the 1,200 mark for the season.
Ooh, he knows it too. Cha-ching. His pager just went off. His agent. Jerome, we've hit the mother lode.
He had 100 yards in our Buffalo game. He had 100 yards in the Kansas City game, and he's looking for another one right here. He likes Monday night.
First down from the 34-yard line. Tomczak throws it away. Andre Hastings, the nearest recipient. It'll be second and 10. Monday Night Football from Miami is being brought to you by Ford Escort. It's new and it's nifty, made for the smart, the intelligent, thrifty. Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers. Southwest Airlines, with fares so low, you have the freedom to go places. And Brewery Fresh Budweiser, who reminds you fresh beer tastes better.
That's not the Mississippi.
Nope.
That's the Inland Waterway in beautiful Miami.
Second down 10. Bettis for a yard to the 35. Emptman makes the tackle. 12:45 to go in the fourth. It'll be third and 9. Mike Tomczak recently really struggling in the fourth quarter. And there it is in the fourth quarter this month. And this is their fourth game of the month. 0 for 10, 3 picks.
And he was also struggling to hear the call from the sidelines.
You know, the computer's working overtime to come up with that.
And amazingly, They've won 2 of those 3 games. 3rd and 9. Tomczak throws, and he is still 0 for November. Intended for Pegram.
Good coverage by the Dolphins downfield. Tomczak had time. No receiver.
Steelers to punt. Josh Miller with a line of scrimmage, the 35-yard line, and O.J. McDuffie ready to run it back for Miami. McDuffie calls for the fair catch, a 47-yard boot to the 18. Marino and the Dolphins start from there. 12:01 left in regulation. Tied at 17. In Miami, Al Michaels with Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, and Lynn Swan. 12:01 left, 4th quarter. Game tied 17-17, and the Dolphins have it. The football Dolphins at the 20. Marino. And it's caught up at the 35-yard line by Fred Barnett. Up to the 37 is where he's tackled by Rod Woodson. A first down.
And touched on it earlier. It's really a dilemma when you only bring 3 of your down linemen from your 3-4. They pick them all up, and you give Marino time to sit back there and pick out a receiver. Barnett with a little move turns Woodson around, and he's right there. Marino has all the time in the world to get the delivery. And in the past, after this has happened, Dan, they've come right back with the blitz.
First down from the 37-yard line. Flag. Abdul-Jabbar taken down by Gilden.
And Chad Brown again drops Dan Marino. They came with a late blitz. Carnell Lake from the backside. He was no factor. It's Brown who again gets in on Dan Marino, and a holding call against the Miami Dolphins.
Well, Chad Brown's doing an amazing job.
Oh, he's turning in. He's having a career game here tonight.
He's limping between every play.
Illegal use of the hands to the face. Offense number 66. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Chad Brown may not come out of this game. He's had some 4- and 5-sack games before, but he is really all over Dan Marino. That time he gets inside Bucky, the left guard. And I think the call was against it ended in a 6. So I'm assuming it was McIver, the right guard, Everett McIver.
Right.
He gets flagged for the hands to the face.
First and 20. Good blitz pickup. Marino then lost it too far, intended for Abdul-Jabbar, covered by Gilden. 2nd and 20. Jimmy Johnson, when he took over the team for Don Shula, he said, the great thing is I don't have to coach, but I still want to coach. And it was just too golden an opportunity, and not necessarily financially, but in terms of the power that he has and the control he has over the team.
We asked him his 2 biggest surprises, and he said, well, the talent that was here wasn't as good as I thought, and my rookies ended up being better than I thought.
And the owner, Wayne Heisinger, much more committed than he thought.
2nd and 20, and that's caught by McDuffie up at the 39-yard line, about 9 yards shy of the first down.
One of the Dolphins slow getting up back there. That Richmond Webb.
O.J. McDuffie, what a clutch receiver he is. 3rd and long, wouldn't be surprised if they go right back to McDuffie.
One of the things they really need here in Miami, though, is a speed receiver on the outside. McDuffie, a much better receiver in the slot. That's where Johnson would like to play him, but he can't until he gets someone with some real outside speed in that outside receiver position, either the X or the Z.
Well, this is his down, 3rd down when you need the first.
They have to get to their own 48 to convert, and he's going deep and off the fingertips of Randall Hill. And a flag is thrown. Dion Figures covering on the play. There's the flag.
That's the
along
speed
the sideline.
That's the speed you were talking about, Dan, but he just has not worked into the offense yet.
First penalty of the night against the Steelers.
And what a big one.
Interference. Defense. Number 21. First down.
On the top of your screen, that's Deion Figure right here when Hill goes to the outside. Figures was caught, and he reached out with his right arm and grabbed on to Randall Hill. He bit on a move back to the inside, was surprised when Hill went around him upfield and grabbed him.
First and 10 at the 35-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar picks up about 3 to the 32-yard line. Kevin Henry making the stop.
Tied at 17. The Dolphins almost within field goal range. Probably are.
Well, you're back at a 32, back to 39, a 49-yarder. Certainly within Nedney's range, distance-wise. Joe just doesn't split those uprights every time.
Second and 7. Second and 7 at the 32-yard line. Abdul-Jabbar cuts it back. Takes it to the 30-yard line. That's a pickup of 2. It'll be 3rd down and 5 at the 30-yard line.
Coming into tonight, Nedney was 13 of 21 on the field goals.
Well, he made one tonight from 41 after he had missed one in the second quarter of 56.
So he's 14 of 22 for the season.
Yep. That 56-yarder was long enough. It was just a little wide.
His best, however, is what, 44 yards?
This year. Yep. 3rd down and 5 at the 30-yard line. 4-man rush. Pressure put on by Brown, and the pass is too high, intended for McDuffie, who's covered by Woodson.
Oh, and Marino's upset that he had to deal with Chad Brown. Chad Brown limping noticeably as he works his way back to the Steelers huddle.
Well, Chad Brown has been right in Marino's face all night.
I think we're going to see that spin again. Pritchett tries to cut him. Brown doesn't go on, stays on his feet.
Boy, Marino had to throw it early.
This is some effort by Chad Brown.
So the left-footed Nedney to kick. It'll be spotted at the 38, 48-yard kick. John Kidd puts it down. And Nedney's kick is long enough,
There's that
but
hook
no
again.
good.
There's the hook.
He's got that down.
Exactly the same type of kick that he missed earlier.
And good field position now for Pittsburgh.
At their own 38 with 8.5 minutes to play in the 4th. Tied at 17.
Started out in the fairway, ended up in the rough.
Not a pretty picture for Pittsburgh when you have Yancey Thigpen and Greg Lloyd both in civvies. Thigpen with an arch strain tonight, so he's out for the rest of the night. As Jerome Bettis picks up 2 to the 40-yard line. 8.5 to go in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 8 upcoming. Zach Thomas making the tackle. The game time at 17.
And right now, Jerome Bettis, a very happy man that his fumble didn't end up costing his Steelers any points. I suspect that he'll be concentrating a lot more on holding on to the football here at this crucial stage of the game. Zach Thomas, half of the Fred and Barney show with Izzo.
Bettis on 2nd and 8, taken down by Darrell Gardner after a gain of 2, setting up a key 3rd and 6 at the 42-yard line. And Jerome Bettis, we can tell you no player in history has rushed for 100 or more yards in 3 games in 1 season, and Jerome is right on the cusp. 97 yards, 21 rushes out here on a 3rd down play. That's on Monday Night Football 3 times in the season.
Marcus Allen did it 11 times in a row.
Tomczak throws, and it's Kordell Stewart. He does not make the catch at the 50.
And he had 1st down yardage.
Didn't have control.
And Mike Tomczak under a lot of pressure. And just a straight 4-man rush. And the Steelers don't handle it.
That's surprising.
That is surprising.
Now Josh Miller. O.J. McDuffie is back. Also the fair catch. 43-yard boot taken at the 15-yard line with 7 minutes, 1 second remaining in the fourth quarter.
Well, good series there by Miami defensively, forcing Pittsburgh into a 3-and-out. And they're putting the ball in the hands of a guy who's been there before. This is a defensive unit that came into tonight. Again, we talked early in the show about what a wonderful turnaround they have made in their play against the run. Victimized a lot last year, gave up those 341 yards rushing to Buffalo in the playoffs, and came into tonight giving less, about 88 yards a game, and that is that's some turnaround.
Put Marino in an opportunity to go for number 42 fourth quarter winning drives. Saw the graphic a moment ago. Best ever with 41.
First down at the 15-yard line. And the play fake didn't buy enough time as
I think
Israel Raybon, number 91, came in. Marino was starting to go down, and Raybon finished him off.
Yeah, Dan went back and went to plant. It looked like he slipped.
Like maybe his knee brace locked or something. It was really an awkward move.
Something went wrong with his left leg. It looked like. Yep, right there. He kind of went down on his instep, and rather than get a spike in the ground, it slid out from underneath him. Lucky he held on to the football. He just had it. It pays to have big hands, and Dan Marino has big hands as he just was palming that football and able to hold on to it.
2nd and 17 after Israel Raybon gets a gift sack. And that's deflected and almost picked off. Incomplete. Chad Brown almost got it after the deflection on the pass intended for Stanley Pritchett. 3rd down and 17 now.
All the time in the world, but good coverage downfield. The Steelers coming with just the 3 down linemen, giving Marino a lot of time, but the coverage was good.
Dan put the ball right on Pritchett's hands, not able to corral it in, not able to hold on to it, and they're very fortunate that wasn't picked off.
Spread formation out of the shotgun. Marino on 3rd and 17. Guns one, and McDuffie can't hold on. Up at the 37-yard line, 4th down, and the Steelers should come out of this with pretty good field position.
Marino put on McDuffie's hands, but Darren Perry had pretty good coverage on McDuffie.
The O.J. had to pirouette. He had to spin around behind him.
We've seen him catch that before, but I mean, that was a tough catch.
And it's about the only place Dan could put the ball where it's not going to be picked off.
That's exactly what he did. He had to put it in the backside.
But that's a tough move for McDuffie.
John Kidd to kick. Andre Hastings to run it back. Whistle before the snap. Robert Wilson was moving of Miami.
False start prior to the snap. Number 49. Half the distance to the goal. Still 4th down.
Second time Wilson's been flagged tonight.
And now Kidd well back in his end zone. Has to be careful of that end line. If he drops his foot back there when that ball's in the air and happens to touch the white portion back there, that's a safety.
Kidd a 47-yard average. If he boots 147 here, Hastings will take it at the Steeler 49. And it's a low line drive at the Miami 47 is where Hastings comes up with it.
I think Hastings would like to try that again.
Sean Hill knocks him down at the 45-yard line, but the Steelers in good shape now at the Miami 45-yard line. 6:04 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes providing the Scenics tonight on a spectacular night in South Florida. Temperature around 72, 73 degrees.
Which is it?
72.6.
My favorite number.
First down at the 45-yard line. Bettis, necktie by Thomas at the 41-yard line.
Well, I think of all the rookies, he probably is the most amazing story. Zach Thomas coming in the 5th-round draft pick out of Texas Tech. Remember our preseason game? We came down here and Jimmy Johnson, he just couldn't believe what he had found in number 54.
Look, he calls him a tackling machine.
And a munchkin.
And there's a good look at it. That's bringing down a guy that's about the same size.
And bringing down a guy who just went up and over the 100 mark. 101 yards and a lot more here for Jerome Bettis as he takes it to the 34. And that's a first down. Thomas making the tackle. Clock ticking down. 5:12 left in regulation.
And you're seeing right there the effect that Jerome Bettis has on a defense.
He scatters the bodies, doesn't he?
They sure do. And they start, as the game goes on, they start getting up slower and slower. The walk back to that huddle is further and further. And they're just, these guys are starting to show a little wear and tear.
George Hill, the defensive coordinator, they look like pins in a bowling alley, which is an appropriate way to describe it because Bettis is an avid bowler and has bowled a 300 game. Here he is again.
Several 300 games, I think.
Takes it to the 30-yard line.
And if he does, he'll be doing something wrong.
I just keep him coming.
If you do anything, you go play action off it.
Second down and 6 at the 30-yard line.
I had a 225 game one time.
Jerome again. And he angles his way to the 26. It'll be 3rd and 2. Thomas again making the tackle.
And that, of course, because of their outstanding offensive line and the big man Jerome Bettis. Kordell Stewart, of course, comes in on the short yardage. He runs the option. We've seen him do it several times tonight. He also has a rollout that they give him.
3rd, long 1, short 2. And a counter, and he keeps it and moves it to the 22-yard line for a first down.
And that works because of the success that they had earlier out of that exact 3-back formation of running the option. He does bring a lot to the dance, doesn't he, when he comes in there in that situation?
2:45 left in the 4th. The game time at 17. 1st and 10 at the 22-yard line. Bettis out of the eye this time. Gets a block from Lester and takes it to the 21-yard line where Shane Burton makes the tackle.
Bill Cowher likes it, but this is blue-collar football.
So timeout Miami. 2:27 left in regulation. Miami has to think about the fact that since Pittsburgh is very much in field goal range, it's almost as if you're calling your timeouts predicated upon the eventuality that Pittsburgh will kick a field goal.
I think you're exactly right.
And Bettis now 41 yards back of Terrell Davis of Denver, who leads the league. So you're compelled to take your timeouts here, save as much time as you can on the clock. They have 2 more timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, and there it is up to the second. Davis at 12:77, and then Bettis is second and Terry Allen third.
You're right, Al. You're conceding the field goal. The best you can hope for is that you force them to kick it as quickly as possible. Right now, though, I think we can count on Bettis and company hammering it away. A first down really hurts Miami.
2nd and 8. And they stop him at the 20-yard line. And that's Hollier and Zach Thomas making the tackle. And now Miami will take another timeout. So they have 1 remaining.
And then they still have the 2-minute warning coming up.
Yep, actually they have 0 remaining because Dan had to take 1 earlier. So they're out of timeouts right now. So they have 1 left at the 2-minute warning, the free one.
Bobby Ross's club looks like it's fading off into the sunset. They rise again.
Yep. 7 and 5 coming into that action next Sunday. If Pittsburgh wins this game tonight, Denver would be the first team in the league to clinch a playoff spot. 3rd down and 8. And Tomczak to throw with time. Goes deep, wide open, touchdown Ernie Mills.
Fabulous call by Chan Gailey.
A great call.
Yes, sir.
And a good delivery by Tomczak. He paid the price.
Yep.
He held the football until his receiver cleared, but he took a shot.
Well, and because of the running game, Mike Tomczak just stands and stands and stands. This took at least 6 seconds. Buckley in a chase position all the way, runs into his own guy in the end zone, and Ernie Mills all alone.
Ernie Mills coming back from an ACL surgery. Injured his knee in the Super Bowl last year and is just now working back into 100% shape.
Terrell Buckley going, how long am I supposed to stay with a guy? And it's tough enough without running into my own teammate.
Ernie Mills scoring his first touchdown since the injury in Tempe last January. And Mike Tomczak takes quite a time to complete his first fourth quarter pass in the month of November. He had been 0 for 12.
And watch the hit he takes after. But again, the play action holds the defense, and he takes the shot. Mills working along the back of the baseline. He's right there.
It's play action that means something. When you fake the ball to Jerome Bettis with the kind of night that Bettis has had tonight, it's a meaningful play action pass. That's why it was successful. Nothing in this game has really changed all that much. When you can run the football, you can win. And even though that's a pass for a touchdown, it's made possible by the success the Steelers have had running the ball.
And here's Mr. Fourth Quarter Drive himself.
He'll have to pull this one out without a timeout. But he has time, 2:10, and the clock will stop at the 2-minute warning. What Miami doesn't need here is a 10-second run back, because in effect that negates the timeout. They'd love to take over with about 2:02.
And it'll be very close.
Well, they only want that 10-second run back if it happens to go for about 80 yards.
Right. Johnson sends it down to the 2-yard line, and Irving spikes, is knocked down at the 23, and it just does tick down to exactly 2.
1 second.
Oh, you're good call, Al. That hurt.
Yep.
That hurt them.
So the 2-minute warning, and Marino has 120 seconds and no timeouts to go 77 yards. More Marino magic tonight. He'll need it. 41 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime.
I wonder how many without any timeouts.
He has 2 minutes. He has a first down at the 23-yard line. Steelers with 6 DBs in the game. Marino out of the shotgun. Randall Hill makes the catch, and he's out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Dion Figures with the coverage. 2nd and 4.
Again, a quick read of the blitz. Nobody to pick up the blitz, so Marino had to unload it quickly.
Yeah, Pittsburgh doesn't know from any prevent defense, do they? 6 DBs, but that doesn't mean they're not coming.
The necessity when you come like that is sure tackling. Because when you come with the blitz, a lot of times you end up with that one-on-one, and the guy's got to make the tackle. Here they come again.
Yep. Zone blitz this time as it's a first down. Caught by
who kept him in bounds.
Yep, he stays in bounds. Clock keeps running. Line of scrimmage is the 39.
If they keep coming, it's very difficult to go deep. You'll have to throw just about everything underneath with the blitz.
Four-man rush. Marino throws.
Oh,
Hill gets open inside the 30, and Hill is thrust out of bounds at the 16-yard line.
Well, he got in between the 2 defenders, and he has blazing speed. We talked about it earlier.
45-yard gain.
Well, Willie Williams just lets him go without much of a challenge.
He's looking for help from the inside, but you got to play him tighter than that.
Williams, number 27, just lets Hill off the line of scrimmage. Watch this. That boy, you got to stop his upfield momentum more than that.
And Myron Bell didn't get over to help either.
Williams in a chase position all the way. Or they'd love to have just one timeout at their disposal.
They come again. It is caught by Scott Miller this time. So the seldom used Hill and the rarely used Miller have caught back-to-back passes, and they're inside the 10.
But
Second and 2 at the 8.
But the often used Dan Marino is doing it again. How about this?
They just can't get to him quickly enough. They're not picking up all the blitz men, but he's just getting rid of the ball.
Taking him 45 seconds to go from his own 23 down to the Steeler 8-yard line. Second and 2. A minute 15 left in regulation. Marino with time and then throws, and it's high. O.J. McDuffie, the intended receiver. Third and 2.
Things do get a little tighter down here.
Boy, McDuffie was open too.
Dick LeBeau come up with just about everything he's got, and this is the game you play. Gary Stevens, the offensive coordinator, calling the plays down. They're going into Marino, but he's given so much leeway. He can do pretty much what he wants.
Well, he's got 3 receivers to the near side here.
Dan on third and 2. It's caught by Parmalee, and he is stopped short of the first down, so it's fourth down. And now they have to convert. At worst, Figures makes the tackle. Under a minute to play.
And that's a heck of a play by Deion Figures, and Parmalee is still hurt. That is just an all-pro tackle by Deion Figures in a crucial situation. He's on a receiver. He lets him go when he sees the short pass to Parmalee and comes up with a world-class stick.
And I don't think this is an act by Parmalee either. He was really smashed.
It'll still cost them, I believe, 10 seconds under these circumstances here without a timeout and an injury timeout.
Look at this hit.
Look at that tackle by Figures.
That just stunned Parmalee.
It stops the clock. It's an injury timeout. It's a rule that was put in a few years ago. There's a 10-second runoff, so the clock goes from 52 to 42. But the most compelling thing now is they have to convert. It's fourth down and 1.
And the clock is now running.
Fourth and 1 from the 7. Marino with the game on the line, throws off the fingertips of Scott Miller. And the Steelers can start to celebrate.
Well, that call is going to be questioned. The clock moving at what, about 27, 28 seconds. Should they have gone for the first down and then spiked the ball?
So they lose it on downs. Brown comes limping off, but the Steelers are going to go home with a mark of 9-3.
Just off the fingertips. Scott Miller couldn't handle it. And a thrill of victory.
And it was, again, give credit to the Steelers secondary. First of all, with Deion Figures for the big tackle that sets up the fourth down play, and the coverage on fourth down.
So the game is over. The Steelers with a mark of 9-3. The Dolphins are now 7-6.
And Cowher is what, 10-1 now on Monday night?
On Monday night, and the Denver Broncos are now officially in the playoffs. The Broncos, the first team in the National Football League to clinch a postseason berth. Mike Shanahan's team is 11-1. Bill Cowher takes his team into Baltimore next week, and Miami has a big one in California against the Raiders in Oakland. Miami with a mark of 6 wins and 6 losses. And a reminder, you can check out the NFL's new internet site for scores, stats, and news from around the league, all there on NFL.com. We go to Atlanta. Next week, it'll be the Falcons hosting the San Francisco 49ers. The final here tonight, Pittsburgh 24 and Miami 17. Until next Monday, Al Michaels for Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, and Lynn Swan saying good night from Miami.